Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so just so we have it on the good of the recording, so everybody has it too. The first question about citing primary interviews. If you did the primary interview yourself, like you interviewed the person and the stories in the book, you don't have to cite it by definition. And then the second is uh, in terms of the use of like IBID, like in terms of like that as a citation function in the footnotes, you can only use that if it's direct back-to-back footnotes, like footnote 19 to footnote 20 to footnote 21. Like all three of those are the same exact source. You can use it. Otherwise, you have to repeat it again, just so recording has it. So in terms of this one, in terms of what we're going to do today, I'm gonna outline the 3-week roadmap again, go into a little bit more detail about things now that we're like in the thick of it, now that we're going through the first week of this 3-week sequence here. And then we're gonna do some fun activities in terms of creating the elements of a great bio and creating elements of a great description. Before you know it, we're gonna be done. So before we get too far into it, I wanna ask the group, like, how are people feeling about, covers? Like now that you have you sat on your covers for a week, how are people feeling? How are people feeling about manuscripts coming to an end? What's the general vibe of the group here?
Yeah, so I'll start, then call people out. I'm pretty excited about my cover, actually. The one I liked, a lot of people that I sent my survey out also liked, like it was by far the best option in their eyes. So that was really exciting. And I was really, I was like working to just tweak it a little bit, get slightly better. And it's been cool to see it come along. In terms of revisions, we were talking about it right before you got on. It's been quite the slog, but it's about to be done. And I'm really excited about that, but I'm pretty much done writing. Just need to do like citations and polishing. So coming to the end, going to be exciting. All right, well, I'm going to call people based on how I see them. So Duran.
All right, so first, I guess I'll talk about my cover. I had my cover for like a while. I did a lot of work on that, with going over like what I wanted to change, and like they kind of got exactly what I wanted. Like I felt like the cover like tells my story like perfectly. Like they put like all the little things that I really wanted, like New York in the background. Coming from New York like meant a lot to me. So being able to have that in the background, being able to have like basketball in one hand, briefcase in one hand, the path, like everything, and it was like super cool, like going back and forth with the artist when I was like talking to them about it, because I don't know, she's just like a genius. Like she got everything that I wanted. Revisions are going cool. Like it's crazy to think that like it's actually like coming to an end at this point. But I think happy with what I've got. Almost done these last 2 days. I'm still gonna be working these last 2 days, but I feel pretty good about it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, yeah, cool. Cool to see you're so excited about your cover. So yeah, so we'll go to Rob now.
Yeah, so like Duran, I've had my cover for quite a while now. Got a chance to kind of throw it around to some friends and family, show them again, and kind of getting that excitement reciprocated was really cool. Revisions, I mean, kind of been tinkering them. I've been in a good place for a minute now as well. Got a kind of a cool feedback. My marketing editor had said that she showed her two sons my manuscript as she was reading them, let them look over, and she said that they are normally not big readers, but like loved it and could have put it down and was learning a lot, which was really cool because that was my first sort of affirmation of my work and like having people actually enjoy it. So that was really cool to hear. She actually messaged me that this morning. But like the rest of you guys, I'm going to be doing citations on some stuff I've added, and be grinding through Friday too, but in a really exciting spot.
Yeah, great. Congrats. All right, we'll go to Will.
Yeah. For the book or for the cover, pretty excited about it. Have been getting some really good feedback. But mainly, I've been focusing on editing, and it's definitely a process. But I feel like I have a ton of great content. It's just now I really need to go back through it and really, hone in on my argument. But it's come together really nicely, and I'm excited.
Great. All right, cool. We'll go to Nico.
Yes. So in regards to book cover, you can see my book cover there. I put it up on work, at work, and just been getting people's feedback. Everything's good. There's a couple tweaks I want to make, but overall, that's the one I'm going to go with. In regards to the book, I have 4 more chapters to do. So tomorrow is like the last big push. I'm kind of burnt out for today. But yeah. Besides that, we're rocking it out.
Great. All right, cool. We'll go to Julia.
Hi. So, for the covers, I was torn between option 1 and 3. So whenever I put out the survey, I was like, oh, they're going to help me decide and I'm going to get some feedback. And of course, it's been pretty much tied since with all the people. So it's definitely something that I'm going to take some time to think about. Because I know the more practical one, but I also like the prettier one too. But we're going to have to think about that. But other than that, I'm done with the book part, but there's a lot of things that I want to finish, but citations also really just take me forever, and I get kind of confused on those sometimes. So I'm trying to do something tonight and then devote tomorrow to something else, because I did feel like I definitely pushed the editing back way farther than I should have. So I am a little anxious right now, but I've been doing nothing but staying home and fixing this, so I'm not that worried about time.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. All right, cool. We'll go to Alex.
Yeah, so for the cover, I've gotten some pretty good feedback. It's, a lot just kind of across the board right now. So trying to kind of mix it around with it and see exactly where the direction I want to go. And then I did a lot of citations and everything this week and gotten that, pretty much done. And then the last 2 days now, I guess, is just going through the whole book, making sure everything I want in there is actually there and, telling the complete story. So on the right path, I think.
Great. Yeah, good to hear. All right, cool. And then last but not least, Samantha.
Hello. So the cover designs I was so pleased with. I thought it was funny because when I sent out the survey, like people would say the exact same things about different covers, but like the opposites. Like one person would be like, this like is the exact message that like you are going for, and the next person would be like, this has nothing to do with your story. And I just thought it was funny. But ultimately, I think that their covers are going to be great, and it's whatever I choose will be awesome. And I'm so grateful for the cover designers like helping us. And these last couple of days of edits, I'm just like, I feel really proud, and I feel like so grateful for this experience, like going through it with all of you guys and like having all of your support like throughout this whole process. I'm just really grateful.
Oh yeah, that's nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm happy you're excited about them. All right, cool. We'll turn it over to Brian then. Good.
That's all exactly to Samantha's point right here. Every single one of you should be, and as you already have like said, like should be proud of like the hard work that you put in over the past literally 2.5 months. Kind of crazy to think that it's been 2.5 months, but over the past 2.5 months on your books. So you should, hats off to you all for putting in the work to make this one happen. Now comes the home stretch of this thing, getting it done and getting this thing published. Hot damn, I love that. The sound of that. So in terms of this one, in 2 days, you are going to copy editing. Oh my gosh, that's scary, that's exciting, all of the above. It's going to be a lot of fun here on this one. This is it. Like, this is your time here. You all made it. You all should be so proud and excited in terms of what you've done here. Because it's pretty awesome to think from where you all started back in like September, October to where you all are now, which is kind of awesome. So knowing that, and then like to go a layer deeper, like what is happening over the next 3 weeks. Before I get too far into that, I want to remind everybody again, like the 3 core dates that we're orienting each other around here on this one, right? On Friday, May 31st, you go to copy editing. Revisions are done. On July 1st, we're going to order the first physical copies of your book. And then on July 27th, up in New York City, you're going to have a launch event for your book here on this one. Once June hits, like in the next couple of weeks here, I'm going to go into more details about the actual launch event itself. But just so everybody at like a high level knows what to anticipate, July 27th is going to be a bit of an all-day affair. So if you're thinking about booking, train tickets, bus tickets, plane tickets, whatever, I recommend that you come in on the morning of July 27th here, because in the afternoon, we're going to have a launch day workshop. If you're not able to make it to the launch event in New York City, totally good. Joinable via Zoom, as always. But in the afternoon, before the launch, we're going to have a workshop. That's going to be the last things that you need to do before you publish. And then in the evening, we're going to have the celebratory launch event celebration of you all. So get hyped for that. I'm going to share more details about venue, exact timing on that one in the next couple of weeks here, once you're done with revising your manuscript and we can actually think about launching and promoting these ones. But that just gives you a tease of where you're headed. And for anybody who's curious, if you have friends in the city, family who wants to come with you to launch, they're totally welcome and invited to come. Don't worry about that. Everybody is welcome in terms of this one. So knowing that, then, there are three main activities here that we're orienting ourselves around over the next 3 weeks. The first one in this sequence is copy editing here on this one. So if you don't remember what I said in terms of copy editing again, or you want to, a refresher on what it is now, what copy editing is it's the grammar and overall polishing of your manuscript. So an editor reviews it line by line, make sure everything is grammatically consistent, spelling is accurate, all of that fun stuff. Whether or not they graduated with an English major, they love the English language and grammar and spelling and all that fun stuff more than I do. So that's what they bring to the table and how they're going to polish your manuscript in terms of that one. And in terms of this one, on Friday morning, you're going to meet your copy editor via email. And what's going to happen is in that email, it's going to include very explicit instructions about how to submit your manuscript for copy editing. Spoiler alert, you're going to be submitting it for copy editing by email, either through Google Docs or Microsoft Word, whichever is easier, but it's going to be submitted as one massive document. So with your advanced readers, it's been individual chapters, but this is the first time with copy editing that it's going to be one massive, whole heck of a long document, whether it's 60 pages, 80 pages, 100 pages in Google Docs or Microsoft Word. That's how you're going to be submitting it by email to your copy editor on Friday. Does that all sound good? Does that all make sense? Any questions about that? Cool. So again, that's going to happen on Friday in case anybody has any short-term memory loss on that one. Copy editing is when the first thing in this 3-week sequence begins. The second week, what's going to happen the week after copy editing in this sequence here, is you're actually going to review the copy edited manuscript that you get back from your editor. And what this is really going to be is it's going to be your it's going to be your chance to review your manuscript, do any last things that you want to do. Did you have like a 2 a.m., existential crisis moment where you woke up in bed and you're like, holy shit, I need to add this section or I need to rework this? Or did an advanced reader come out of nowhere and say, hey, we need to make this change? Or, was there that last minute thing that you couldn't make good on yet, but you really feel like you need to? This is your opportunity to do that. Otherwise, for most everyone, this is going to be the chance where you get your copy edited manuscript back. You look at it one last time and you say, wow, I did it. This is amazing. And that's going to be, you're going to have a week to really celebrate and revel in that moment. And again, this is going to be the last chance that you have to make any changes. So if there are any changes, any tweaks before you go to layout, before you publish, this is your chance to do that. Come hell or high water, this is your chance. So just to be really clear, and there are no surprises on that one. And during this week, this is when you'll add any citations, you'll add footnotes to your manuscript. If you weren't able to yet, you still have things to do on that one. So in terms of this one, this will really be the chance where you really focus in on citations. You haven't been able to because revisions have been your main priority, so don't worry, you still have time. In translated terms, what I am saying here is you have until June 15th to make sure all of your citations are good to go. So if you're feeling stressed or you're not confident that all your citations are going to be done by Friday, don't worry. You actually have more time than you realize because you have until June 15th to worry about citations. But if you've been on your game, great. Keep after it, get it done. One less thing to worry about during this second week of the sequence here. Does anybody have any questions about this piece of the sequence, or does this all make sense? Cool. Awesome. And then the last piece of this sequence is really the piece of layout, where if anybody forgets or is unsure of how this one works, this is really where someone goes in and they format your book so it has page counts, margins, fonts, so that way like you can actually print out a physical copy of your book and hold it in your hand. All of the things that need to be done in order to have that happen, that's what layout is, and that's what they do. So if you're unsure of like what layout looks like, pick up a book, look at it, and that's what layout is in terms of that one. So in terms of how layout's going to work, because I promised a little bit of a deep dive on this one, just a little bit, is this week is the way you're going to submit your manuscript for layout is you're going to submit it through Google Docs on this one. You're going to submit it all through Google Docs. And you're going to submit it as one massive document. So similar to as when you submit for copy editing, it's going to be one massive document again. So if you submit your manuscript to copy editing through Google Docs, you just saved yourself an extra step here on this one. Hint, hint, trying to nudge you into a certain direction on this one here. Google Docs, the answer is one massive document. And that's the quick and dirty of it. You're going to submit one massive document. Layout's going to get that massive document from Google Docs in Google Docs from me. And then they're going to produce the layout of your book based off of that. And in terms of that one, there are going to be a couple of things that you'll have to do to make sure when you submit your manuscript for layout that it's formatted properly so that layout can clearly see what the chapter titles are, clearly see if you have any section headers, if there's any like specialized text, like any block quotes, that all gets formatted correctly. So that way, when you actually get the layout of your book back, your life is a hell of a lot easier in terms of looking at it. That'll be like a step that you will do before you actually submit it. And I'm not going to go into too deep of a dive of how to format all of that because I have a quick guide that fully explains how to do that one. A couple of you have been trying to view that document over the past week, and I've been denying access on that one because, to be honest, you don't need access to this one until after copy editing. The formatting piece of this one, honestly, shouldn't take you longer than like an hour, 90 minutes, because it's literally just like labeling the chapter headers, labeling any section headers, and then labeling like any block quotes that you have. Otherwise, it's going to be literally that straightforward in terms of layout. And there's going to be a guide on that one that we'll share after the meeting tonight, so you have access to that one. So like in tactical terms, as I've just said here, what you will do is you'll compile your manuscript as one massive document on Google Docs, and then you're just going to format any section headers, any chapter titles, like any block quotes, so that way layout can clearly pull those out and make sure they especially so are formatted correctly. And then layout will take care of the rest to make sure your book looks pretty and looks awesome in terms of that one. And the reason you're doing this and you'll do this step in particular is because in the world of traditional publishing, like if you go to Random House or Simon and Schuster, they spend about 4 months in the layout process. And the way we approach layout is just-in-time publishing, which means that we're able to take that 4-month-long process and through a couple of tweaks of like making sure you format the chapter titles, make sure you format the section headers, make sure you format like any block quotes, things like that, as outlined in the Quip guide. That literally cuts the layout process down into like 1 to 2 weeks. So it's going to be like super straightforward in terms of that, as you'll see in the guide itself. So I know it's shocking to think that like we're able to take a 4-month process and bring it down into like less than 2 weeks. But we've learned a lot in terms of expediting the layout process that like through a couple of quick things makes life so much easier for everyone across the board in terms of this one. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because there are like so many nuanced questions that every author about their individual book can have about layout or specific things. So what I'll say is look at the guide on Quip, which we'll share in full after the meeting tonight. And it should answer like every question you have. But if you still have questions about layout, you've read the guide, it all makes sense to you, or even if it doesn't all make sense to you, you still have questions, send me a message and let me know, and I can walk you through that on an individual basis. Because layout is a straightforward thing, like formatting things with page counts and everything is straightforward, but there are little idiosyncrasies and nuances to each book that it's better if we talk about that one-on-one. And again, in case anybody forgets this one, on June 15th, you're going to submit your manuscript for layout, and that's a hard deadline in terms of that one. And then before you know it, you'll be done. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Because that 3-week sequence is a lot to break down right there. And I know you're probably at capacity in terms of keeping everything in. So does anybody have any questions or any thoughts or anything that came up just here? Cool. Like it. So the short version of this one is going to be, remember on July 1st, your book is going to go to print. Come hell or high water, that's what's going to happen. But in case you're ever at a loss for words or questions or whatever, your copy editor, your layout editor, and I will also be tactical on this one in terms of telling you exactly what you need to do and when, in terms of the copy editor email that you get, the layout editor that you meet on Quip, and me on Quip if you have anything that comes up. We're going to keep it very straightforward and to the point so you know what you need to do and when in terms of this one. If anybody follows like the Screen Rant series on YouTube called Pitch Meetings, you'll get the reference here. But if you read the documents, you follow the emails, you follow the instructions in here, everything here is going to be super easy, barely an inconvenience. It's that straightforward. It's just mechanical steps that you have to follow here on this one. And again, to like wrap it all up so everybody's on the same page. On Friday, copy editing. A week later, you get the chance to review your manuscript. And then on June 15th, you submit your manuscript for layout. And then we order the first physical copies of your book on July 1st. Awesome. Any last questions, comments, concerns before we move on to the fun activity of tonight? Cool. Awesome. So the fun thing tonight is beginning the conversation about creating a great bio and a great description for your book. And as you'll see in terms of the activities that we're going to do here tonight, is we're going to create the elements that you're then going to use over the next 2 weeks with your marketing editor to create a great bio and a badass book description here on this one. So creating a great bio and creating a great description is actually way easier than you think it is. Once you break it down into its elements, like literally in terms of these ones, you're going to be playing with Lego blocks. Once you know what the elements are, the secret of this one is to figure out which Lego blocks go where to create the best Lego figurine that you're trying to make for you and your book. And there are 4 elements of a great author bio. A great author bio, a great bio is one part, making fun of yourself. Like if your friends were to rag on you, give you a hard time, like what would they say? It's one part, bragging, like praiseworthy achievements. Like if your parents were to brag about you, significant other, or like a super fan were to say something about you, what would they say? And then one part, what is your purpose? Why did you write this book? What is your why? What is your story in terms of this one? And then the last part is to tie yourself to some external entity. So if you're a college student or a recent college grad here, in terms of this one, which fits for all of you, to not frame yourself as a student. You're a creator. You created this book. Own it. Own yourself. Because the moment you say that you're a student, you automatically undermine your credibility in terms of this one. So those are the 4 parts of creating a great bio, and in terms of this one. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create, through the author bio elements exercise, those 4 elements for you right here and now. So what you want to do is go into the session materials folder. And then right here, you'll see the author bio document. What you want to do right here is create a copy of it and then move it into your launch and promotion folder. So does everybody have a copy of this document now? Yes, no, maybe? Cool. So the first piece is to associate yourself as something other than a college student or a recent college graduate. Is to tie yourself to some sort of external entity. So in terms of this one, if you're already the founder of a company, or you have a really great job title, or you're part of a nonprofit organization that is really relevant to you and your story, like this could be the opportunity for you to list that one out. Or if you don't have that, and you fit the bill here, this is your opportunity to create. It doesn't have to be a real entity yet, but some sort of organization that if you wanted to, you could actually create to tie yourself to. So to give you a story on this one, I wrote my book on entrepreneurship in the video game industry, and my external entity is called Bees Consulting. And really, Bees Consulting, it doesn't actually exist, but it's a way for me to talk about having published a book on video games, having interviewed a lot of founders and entrepreneurs and innovators in the industry, and the other things that I do in terms of speaking and engagement in the gaming industry, without actually saying that I was a college student when I wrote this book, or that somebody else was involved in terms of this one. So it's really putting you out there as yourself, not tying yourself to Professor Custer, not tying yourself to me or New Degree Press, but to tie you to your story. So you could say that you want to, you founded, your last name consulting, or whatever type of organization name if you were to come up with one. It doesn't particularly matter what the name is, so long as you have something to tie yourself to. So take a minute or two to come up with some potential names. All right, and then the next one here is if your parents were to brag about you, your significant other, if they were to brag about you, if your best friend were to brag about you, if you're a super fan in your life were to brag about you, what would they say? This could be the opportunity to say whether or not you're a current college student or an alum, like a recent alum, to say that you were a graduate of insert school. The graduate of Georgetown University, the graduate of Harvard, Princeton, Kentucky, whatever that school could be. That could be the opportunity to say this one. Or are there any achievements or accolades or things about you that are particularly noteworthy or praiseworthy? Like any involvements that you had, any awards you received, any recognition you've gotten in terms of anything. Like if someone were to brag about you, what would they say? What would they tangibly point to brag about you? And hopefully this is an easy one for you to come up with because there are plenty of things each of you can brag about yourselves for. And now if like your friends were to rag on you, if they, what would they say? Do you have like a nerdy obsession? For example, like me, like whenever me and or whenever the new Marvel movie comes out, or a new comic book movie or action movie comes out, Eric and I will always go see it the first weekend in theaters. So like I love Marvel movies, big Marvel fan, super excited when Endgame came out a couple weeks ago. That could be something that I could talk about. Or I wrote a book on video games. I love playing video games. That could be a thing that I talk about. Like something specific to like the topic I wrote on. Or maybe you love, taking long walks on the beach. Like sounds cheesy and corny, but that's the point. To be cheesy, to be corny, to make fun of yourself. Like, how would your friends make fun of you? Do you like to play with your dog? Like, humanize yourself in some way in terms of those ones. Like, do you love to do something in particular? How would your friends, make fun of you, give you a hard time in terms of this one? And Eric's great way of self-deprecation is, he would always say that, he would always say that he's a professor at Georgetown University, but when he actually applied to Georgetown in the application process, he got rejected. So it's like, haha, kind of funny. And then the last Lego block here to play with is what is your, like, why did you write this book? Like, if you were to answer the question, why did you write this book? What would you say? Do you have a particular passion for the topic, for the subject? Did you hope to make a difference, an impact in some way? Were you curious about something? Why did you want to create this book? And why should people care that you wrote it? Whatever that answer is, write it down. You may have 3 reasons, you may have 1 reason, you may have 7 reasons. Whatever your reasons are, this is your opportunity to share them. Now that you've done that, now that you've written out potential external organizations, ways in which your parents would brag about you, ways in which you can be humanize yourself, and now that you've also talked a little bit about your why you wrote this book, you're going to leave that to the side right now. You're going to leave that to the side until next week with your marketing editor, where you'll actually create the draft of your bio here. You're going to leave that to the side. The reason for that is, 1, priority right now is manuscript going to copy editing on Friday. And 2, what you'll see as time goes on is the real trick to creating a great bio is to actually see these as Lego blocks and figure out how to organize them in a way that makes sense for you and your story. And you'll see, maybe you start by bragging about yourself. Maybe you start by joking about yourself. Maybe you talk about why you wrote this book. The real trick of these is to see these as Lego blocks and then begin to figure out with your marketing editor next week how they should be organized in a way that actually creates the Lego figurine that you're trying to make. Is it a battleship? Is it a spaceship? Is it a rocket? Whatever that shape is, whatever that structure you're trying to make is, that's what you'll do next week. Now that you've done that, the next big piece is the description. So similar to the bio, just with the description, there are 4 key elements to this one. To have a great cook, to share the core model, insight, takeaway from your book. If people walk away with nothing else, what would that one thing be? Third part of a way for you to talk directly to your reader. And then last but not least, what are a set of stories, facts, insights, moments from your book that if nobody walks away from anything else, you hope they take away within the grand scheme of things. Those are the elements we're going to create right now. So what you'll want to do is go to the description document, create a copy of it, move it into your launch and promotion folder in terms of this one. And then once you have that document in your folder, the first thing you're going to do is write out 10 words, phrases, terms, ideas that if someone were to search for your book, what you think they would write. Like, would they write, words like innovation, technology, entrepreneurship, like big, general words like that? Or would they name specific companies, brands, products, specific terms or phrases relevant to your industry? What would they write? List out 10 words, the first 10 that come to mind. Don't overthink this one at all. Then the next one here is like, what is your hook? And there are three main ways book descriptions have a hook. They start with a compelling question, like, do you ever wonder why blank? Have you ever thought about X? Why do people always do Z? Whatever that thing is, to start with a question, something like that. Or to start off with a surprising fact or shocking statistic. A great example of this one is Karina Chan, an author who published her book on women in venture capital back in November. Started her description off with only 2% of women receive venture capital funding, which automatically brings up a red flag of like, wait, what the fuck? Like only 2%? What is that? That instantly grabs people's minds in. So is there a fact or statistic or idea that grabs people's attention? Or three, is there a conventional wisdom that your book debunks? Like a great example for Nico is like, everybody thinks that that marketing is left to the professionals, but in reality, we're all marketers, which actually makes sense because it's the title of this book. But is there a conventional wisdom your book debunks? And those are the three main buckets in which a hook typically exists. And then the next one is, what is the core idea of your book? Like, do you have a model, an insight, a takeaway, a value in your book? And the way you can frame this one in your mind is like, if nobody else takes anything away from your book, what do you hope they learn? What do you hope they understand? Like, fundamentally, what is your hope for this book? Like, after someone reads this book, what do you hope they learn? What do you hope they gain? What do you hope they take away? And that could be a model, a method, a framework, an insight, a value, whatever that is. And I wouldn't write this one in the most succinct way, in the shortest way possible. I would write out 4 to 5 sentences, like a short 100, 200 word paragraph of like this idea. Like, don't try to boil it down. Like, word vomit this one. And then the next one is, to talk directly to your reader. And a way you could talk directly to your reader could be like, you would love this book if, you would enjoy this book if, you would appreciate this book if. However you would answer, that question is what you should write there. Don't overthink it.
Brian, can you actually repeat what you just said for that section again? Sorry.
Yeah, so in terms of that one, to talk directly to your reader, write the sentence, you would love this book if, you would appreciate this book if, you would enjoy this book if. And whatever your answer to that question is what you should write in this particular bit. And then the last one here is to write out 3 to 4 stories that are in your book. The story of X, the story of Y, the story of Z, the story of A, the story of B, the story of C. To literally write out high level what the story is, and then write 1 or 2 sentences describing the story. So the story of John Smith overcoming his fear of heights, and then why you chose that story. I chose that story because he developed a sense of courage and understanding of who he was, and made him a better person. Cool. Then 2 or 3 other stories. Or if stories is the route for you, are there facts, tactical insights, lessons you hope they take away? Like, you'll learn how to do X. You'll learn how to do Y. You'll learn how to do Z. You'll learn about why this, why that, why blank. And if you can't think of like 3 or 4, but you have like 6 or 7, write them all down. Whatever first comes to mind. Whatever those core stories, facts, moments from your book that you think are particularly interesting or noteworthy or cool or powerful. So again, this exercise here was really just about you getting some initial ideas down, brainstorming some thoughts. You'll still have plenty of time to add to this document over the next week or so as you have time. But really the priority right now is on Friday, submitting your manuscript for copy editing to your copy editor, who you'll meet via email. Details about how to submit your manuscript to them will be in that email. And then next week, once your manuscript's in copy editing, it's super low-key week. It'll be a super low-key week. You'll begin working with your marketing editor to create the draft of your bio, the draft of your description based off of these 2 exercises. And as you'll see, it'll begin to come together much as if you were playing with Legos. So with that, that's all I've got for you. Any last questions for the good of the order before we jump off here?
All right, cool. All right, well then, yeah. Brian said it first. Good luck submitting your manuscripts on Friday. It's going to be a last-minute push for everyone, including me. So just good luck. We're almost to the finish line. But yeah, see you guys later. Have a good rest of your week.
Oh, good night.